What would you do if the love of your life ended everything over words that weren't even hers to believe, and then came crawling back just 4 hours later, begging for a second chance? Would you take her back, or would you realize that sometimes the truth someone tells you in a moment of weakness is the only truth that matters? Stick with me till the end, because this story has a twist that nobody, not even the people living it, saw coming. Daniel and Kate had been together for 5 years, but honestly it felt longer than that because they'd been circling each other for 2 years before they even made it official. She was his first everything: prom, school dances, the late-night phone calls when one of them was falling apart and needed the other to hold the pieces together. He always knew, deep down, that Kate was a little out of his league, and he never let that stop him from trying to be the kind of man who deserved her anyway. He built his life around making her feel safe, around making her feel chosen. He went off to college and doubled down on 2 majors while she trained at cosmetology school. And somewhere in between all of that, they started talking about the real stuff: marriage, kids, a house with both their names on the lease. They were supposed to move in together in a matter of months. Then Kate landed a job at a salon, an all-women environment, and that's when things started shifting in small, almost invisible ways. She'd come home and mention offhand that her coworkers kept asking her why she was with him, that one of them in particular kept saying she wasn't in her league. At first it was nothing. A comment here, a comment there. Every time Daniel asked how she felt about it, she brushed it off, told him she loved him, told him she shut it down every time. They never fought about anything real. Their arguments were the harmless kind: movies, food, which anime was actually good. There was no cheating, no secret messages, no hidden accounts. Just this slow drip of poison coming from women who had never even met him, and a girlfriend who kept absorbing it instead of blocking it. Then one night, after what felt like a completely normal date, everything ended in the space of a single sentence. He dropped her off at her place, said goodnight, and she looked at him and said she was having doubts, that she wanted to break up. He didn't yell. He didn't beg. He just stood there in stunned silence, and then he turned around and walked to his car, because in that moment there was nothing left to say. He knew exactly where this was coming from. She practically confirmed it herself in a text right after. 4 hours later, his phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Call after call, text after text, all from her. She was sorry. She didn't mean it. She was going to quit her job, cut off the coworkers, undo everything she'd said in one impulsive moment of insecurity. He didn't respond to a single one. Not because he didn't feel anything, but because he felt everything all at once, and he needed silence to process it. So he packed his laptop, left his own apartment, and found somewhere quiet with decent internet to keep working remotely, because thankfully his job didn't require him to be anywhere in particular. What he didn't expect was the chaos that would follow his disappearance. His boss called him in for an emergency video meeting, and when the call connected, there were 2 police officers standing behind his boss's shoulder. Someone had requested a wellness check on him, not Kate. Their mutual friends, after 24 hours of complete silence, turned into real panic. He had to explain, in real time, on a call with law enforcement watching, that he was fine, just overwhelmed, and his phone had been off. By the time he finally opened his phone again, there were 61 missed calls, 14 voicemails, and over 400 unread texts. Buried in that avalanche of noise was one voicemail that hit different than the rest. A call telling him the ring he'd secretly ordered, the one he'd been saving for, was finally ready for pickup. Life has a cruel sense of timing sometimes. He went and got it anyway. Paid for already, so there was no reason not to. He placed it in a box he'd built himself, one with 2 buttons, yes and no, lights that lit up around the words, "Will you be my life partner?" The ring itself designed with both their birthstones shaped into a completed heart. Small diamonds around the edge, their anniversary date laser engraved into the metal, made so it could be added onto if they ever had kids someday. And then, instead of running from the pain, he drove straight to her parents' house. Kate opened the door before he even knocked. She'd clearly been crying for a long time. She ran toward him, tried to hug him the way she always used to, tried to kiss him, and he turned his head away without a word. They went inside, sat down, and for what felt like an eternity, neither of them said anything. Eventually, she broke the silence with an apology, and all he could offer back was a flat, quiet, okay. He asked her what she'd told people. She said the truth. He asked why the police had been called on him, and she explained, almost ashamed, that it wasn't her. It was their friends, terrified after a full day of no contact. She used the word catatonic to describe how he'd looked walking away that night. He kept asking questions, calm, methodical, nothing like the emotional wreck she probably expected. Why did you let it get this far? Why didn't you set boundaries? Did you actually believe them? Was there ever anyone else? Every answer circled back to the same excuse. She was sorry. It was a mistake. She still loved him. She still saw value in both him and the relationship. He told her exactly why it hurt the way it did. It was never about what her coworkers said. It was that she kept listening, that she kept repeating it back to him instead of shutting it down the first time it started. That made him feel like some part of her agreed with them, and that was the thing that actually broke the trust, not the words themselves. Then he asked her if she knew he'd been planning to propose. She said no. He pulled out the box right there in front of her parents, who sat quietly, more there to keep the peace than anything else. Her mother cried. Her father looked furious, though not at him. He pressed yes. The box lit up, opened, and Kate broke down completely. But he wasn't there to propose anymore, not really. He told her plainly that the future they'd planned wasn't happening, not the way it was supposed to. He needed space, 3 full months minimum, complete silence, and it would happen on his terms, not hers. After that, maybe they'd talk. Maybe. He thanked her parents for everything they'd done for him over the years. Hugged them, walked over and hugged her little sister too. Someone he'd known basically her whole life. And then he left. That night, he didn't go home and cry into a pillow. He poured himself a drink and let himself feel something other than heartbreak for one evening, because tomorrow he was going to start rebuilding, whether he felt ready or not. Weeks passed. He threw himself into therapy sessions he'd already been attending, leaned on friends who actually showed up, and slowly started feeling like himself again, minus the constant ache of thinking about her every 5 minutes. Kate, from what he heard through mutual friends, left her job in a way that burned every bridge behind her, started therapy of her own, switched career paths entirely, and was planning to go back to school. He ran into her once, weeks after everything, and she didn't look like the woman he used to know. She looked hollow, faking a laugh with friends who probably had no idea how much she was struggling underneath it. He kept the ring in a safe place, modified the box, and gave it to a friend for a different purpose entirely, because selling it never sat right with him. He held on to the no-contact rule as best he could, but life doesn't always respect boundaries you set for yourself. He'd promised her little sister he'd show up to her school play, and a promise like that doesn't get broken just because things ended badly. They ran into each other again at a mutual friend's birthday, kept their distance, made small talk, blended into the background. Then everything changed in a single week. For about a month leading up to it, he'd been getting migraines behind one eye, bad enough to blur his vision, and he'd been ignoring it, chalking it up to stress from everything that had happened. He was out walking with 2 friends one afternoon when he slowed down, stumbled, and nearly hit the ground before one of them caught him. Then the seizure hit, lasting almost a full minute before someone called for help. At the hospital, after a long list of tests, the diagnosis came back: a tumor. The doctors believed they could remove it, but they were waiting on a second opinion before scheduling surgery. His friends called everyone they could think of to let them know what happened, including Kate and her family. She showed up. She was there when he woke up, and if he's being honest, she was the first person on his mind the moment he opened his eyes. They talked, really talked, more openly than they had in months, while she slept curled up on one of those impossibly uncomfortable hospital chairs beside his bed. The plan now, once his lease runs out, is to move in with her family so they can help take care of him through recovery, assuming everything goes as well as it can. He's scared, understandably, but he has people around him who care, and sometimes that's the only thing that actually gets you through something like this. Before ending his story, he asked for one thing from anyone reading it: tell the people you love that you love them. Hug them a little tighter, because you genuinely never know what tomorrow is going to throw at you. But heartbreak doesn't always come from the person you're dating. Sometimes it comes from somewhere much closer, somewhere you never think to guard yourself against. Because in a completely different story, a woman found out that her own sister had been secretly involved with her boyfriend the entire time. Not just physically, but emotionally, laughing with him about things she'd shared in confidence, comparing bodies over text, mocking the relationship behind her back while smiling to her face at family dinners. It wasn't a stranger's opinion that broke this relationship. It was blood. She didn't scream. She didn't cry in front of anyone. She sat down and wrote her sister a message, long, controlled, devastating in its honesty. She told her that she understood now why everyone eventually walked away from her. That being someone's second choice, someone's secret, wasn't something to be proud of. That real family doesn't do what she did. She told her sister that whatever she and the boyfriend had, she could keep it because it was never going to last. And when it fell apart, there wouldn't be anyone left to catch her the way there used to be. The fallout was immediate. Her parents took her side without hesitation. Her sister lost access to the financial support she'd been relying on, eventually finding out she'd been spending money meant for her education on gifts for the same guy she'd betrayed her sister with. She stopped attending school altogether, started showing up at the same clubs her sister used to frequent, almost like she wanted to be seen living the life she'd stolen. The boyfriend eventually reached out to apologize, blaming the sister for manipulating the entire situation, and she told him exactly where he could put his apology. Her sister and the boyfriend broke up, got back together, broke up again, rumors of infidelity following them through every cycle. Mutual acquaintances mentioning sightings of them with other people at the same clubs she now avoided entirely. Eventually, she sold her old gaming setup to cover some bills, moved past the constant need to check up on either of them, and found a strange kind of peace in watching the two people who wronged her spiral without her having to lift a single finger. Her parents, meanwhile, were done pouring money into a daughter who refused to take responsibility for anything, warning her that the support would stop entirely if she didn't get her act together, a warning she apparently still doesn't believe they'll follow through on. Two completely different stories. Two different kinds of betrayal. One from a partner who let outside voices poison something real. One from a sister who traded blood for a relationship that was never built to last. But both stories land on the same truth, that the people who are supposed to protect your heart the most are sometimes the ones who damage it beyond repair. And the only way forward in either case is walking away with enough self-respect to build something better without them. If this story got to you, let me know in the comments which betrayal hit harder, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you want more stories exactly like this one.